The Republican Party will constantly do things that make your life harder. Cut Medicaid and food assistance. They'll implement tariffs that raise your grocery prices. They'll go to war with Iran, raising your gas prices and the price of everything else. And then they'll act like it's your fault for not working harder.
Mothers like mine and others at this table do what they have to do to go and provide for their families. And my father also, for the record, worked several jobs as well. But my point that I'm making is simply this. I would not complain that my CEO is making all this money. If I had an issue with that, I would go start something. I would go create something. I would go create means for me to go and make more money. That's what I wanted to do. We live in a country where that is available. We live in a country where people can, in fact,
don't live in a country where that's available.
I think instead of spending $400 million on a Qatari plane and all these other things that Trump is spending money on, let's put money towards universal child care so that someone like your mom does not have to go and work 2 and 3 jobs to go and provide for her children.
Well, my mom's a hardworking woman. She would work
to have
2, 3
to do
jobs
that
anyway.
Well, she shouldn't have to do that.
We come from a long line of
Well, you know what? Maybe you
work.
think that should be something that should be done. I don't think that it should.
Your mom's working 2 or 3 jobs. Your dad's working several jobs. All of this just to support a family. And Tim's takeaway from that is that this is not a failure of policy. It's just what good people do. Hard work is always the answer. If you're struggling, the question is, why aren't you working harder? That is the whole con. Because once you accept this framing, nothing is ever the system's fault. Childcare is more expensive? Well, you should work harder. Your healthcare premiums went up? Well, you should work harder. Can't afford groceries or gas? Well, maybe you should hustle more. Maybe you should go start something. People should not have to work multiple jobs to be able to support themselves and their family. And Tim's response is that, well, my mom would anyway because she's a really hard worker, which is a very sweet thing to say about your mother, but a devastating thing to say about your politics. What he's actually saying is the burden is yours to carry and the system gets to stay exactly as it is. We don't have to do anything to help people.
And people living in poverty are just not very, they're not very experienced at navigating the real world.
Now, at least just kind of keeping a stiff upper lip. Maybe you take one less trip to Starbucks, and so that gas goes a little further until this thing is over and these gas prices come back down again. Let's just try to be patriots about this.
Yikes. Okay, so Senator Houston thinks that people living in poverty are just bad at real life. Doesn't have anything to do with the fact that his party just voted for Medicaid and food assistance cuts, or the war with Iran, which caused the price of gas to skyrocket, or his president's tariffs, which raised prices on literally everything. None of that is responsible. And then Michelle Tafoya's solution to gas prices is to skip Starbucks and be a patriot about it. If that doesn't tell you how out of touch this party is, I don't know what to tell you, because how is skipping a $5 latte going to fill up your gas tank? The Republican Party and the Trump administration constantly vote for things that actively make your life harder, and then they just tell you to suffer through it. Be a patriot about it. But that's the thing, right? Because the sacrifice is always yours. Meanwhile, they're cutting taxes for billionaires, cutting taxes for corporations, they're protecting their donors, all while telling you to work harder.
The Republicans lie about loving America and being patriotic. They lie that they're good with the economy, that wealth will trickle down. That has been a decades-long propagandistic lie. They lie that they support the troops and they're about national security. They don't. They lie to get people into war. They never support the soldier. They never support the health care of these soldiers. 35% of all homeless people are vets. They served. These people are broken because of that service. And then you have all of these rich, fat cat Republicans like Dick Cheney, Donald Trump, George W. Bush, deferment. These guys would never serve. Do you think Barron's going to go serve? Do you think Dumb and Dumber, Don and Eric are going to go serve? No, they're never going to serve over there. And so the biggest thing that got us here is the Republican Party's lies that they love America, when every time in my lifetime, I was born in 1974, every Republican president of my lifetime has wrecked the economy, taken us into war, added to the national deficit, and resided over a recession. Every single time. But then they come back with all of these lies. We love America. We love freedom. We love the troops. And it's such bull.
The Republican Party constantly lies to you because they know that their policies are horrendous. Imagine if when they campaigned, they actually told you the truth. Hey, we're gonna cut $1 trillion from Medicaid. We're gonna cut $500 billion from food assistance. We're gonna spend $1 billion a day of your taxpayer money on a war abroad instead of on anything that could actually make your life better. Who would vote for that? I mean, who would vote for increased gas bills, increased grocery prices, increased healthcare premiums, increased childcare costs? Nobody wants any of that. And that is why they constantly have to lie to you and feed you these lines about patriotism and keeping a stiff upper lip because they can't tell you the truth. And the truth is that you will always come second to the people they actually care about, which are their donors and the ultra wealthy and corporations.
I had the head of one of the big 5 banks in my office yesterday going through the credit card data, and just as Secretary Bessent said, credit card spending is through the roof. They're spending more on gasoline, but they're spending more on everything else too.
It's funny because Hassett is smiling as he says this because he thinks that credit card spending being through the roof is a good thing, that maybe that's a sign that the economy is thriving. Credit card interest rates are absurdly high. People don't put more and more spending on that unless they literally have to survive. People are putting groceries on their credit cards and gas on their credit cards, but also their kids' inhalers on their credit cards and last month's rent on their credit cards because across the board, prices are way up, people can't afford anything, and people are struggling. And it's all because of the Trump administration. Credit card spending being through the roof is not some sort of flex, it's a distress signal, but Hassett doesn't know that, or more likely, I mean, honestly, he just doesn't care because none of this affects him or anybody in the Trump administration. They constantly protect themselves at the expense of everyone else, and then they blame you for struggling to pay your bills, or they just tell you to be more patriotic about it.
I also thought oil would go up to 200, 250, maybe 300, and I know it would be short term, but I thought it would go, I looked today, it's like at 102, and that's a very small price to pay for getting rid of a nuclear weapon from people that are really mentally deranged.
A very small price to pay. Okay, let's not forget that this man is a billionaire and has probably never filled a tank in his life. He has no concept of standing at the gas pump, watching the numbers go up, and trying to do the math to figure out how many gallons of gas you can afford. $100 oil is a total abstraction to him because it does not affect him. And let's not forget that all of these higher gas prices, higher prices across the board, are for a war abroad that does absolutely nothing to improve your life. The Trump administration doesn't even blink at spending $1 billion a day on this war. $1 billion of your taxpayer money, but then they tell you to swallow higher gas prices because it's a small price to pay.
They got conned by a con man. You're the Democrat, so you're supposed to say that. What do you see that tells you that things are different?
Well, I mean, drive around Mahoning County. For 8 years, there were Trump signs on every corner. There were flags. You couldn't go to a grocery store without seeing those red MAGA hats. I'd challenge you to find one.
It's true. These are hard to find now.
People like this, places like this, are part of how Trump has changed America. Ohio changed from a competitive purple state to a Trump red state because of the magic of his coalition here. But as we head into the midterms, the jobs he promised are not here. The revival in American manufacturing he promised is not here.
Trump has had more than a year in office to improve people's lives, and all he's done is make things worse. Let's look at his track record. He cut your healthcare and your food assistance and used that money to fund tax cuts for the ultra wealthy and for corporations. His tariffs increased the prices of literally everything, and then he went to war, which increased the prices of everything even more. All he has done has made your life harder. He has followed through on literally none of the promises he made, and he spends your taxpayer dollars funding wars abroad and parades for himself and tax cuts for billionaires because he does not care about making your life better. Here's what all of these people in the Trump administration have in common. They're all rich. None of them will ever feel what they're asking you to absorb. They don't feel the impact of higher grocery prices or higher gas prices or higher healthcare premiums because they will always look out for themselves and they do not care if your life gets harder. They will always find money for the things that they want to do. There's $1 billion a day for a war abroad, millions of dollars for a parade for Trump or ballrooms or whatever else Trump wants in the moment. But you're gonna get Medicaid cuts and you're gonna get food assistance cuts and you're not gonna get any help on childcare or groceries or rent. The Trump administration can't raise the minimum wage, but they can cut taxes for billionaires. That they've got. They will never look out for you.